Okay, we're going to review dialogue formatting. I don't find it super intuitive, and you probably learned it in fourth grade and haven't used it since. And it will help you and your editor immensely if you start out knowing what you're doing with it. So, for dialogue formatting, everything a character says out loud, we're going to put in double quotation marks. Quotation marks. Um, the reason that is helpful is because a character might say, I thought he knew that. I thought he knew that. We would put it in quotation marks. But they also could think it. I thought he knew that. So we know it's words coming out of their mouths if it's in quotation marks. For example, I can't wait to start writing this book, said Ronaldo. The part that another character can hear, the part that's coming out of Ronaldo's mouth is, I can't wait to start writing this book, said Ronaldo. Is just the extra speaker tag, which is what we're going to talk about next. So speaker tags stay outside of the quotation marks because they're not actually coming out of the character's mouth, right? Speaker tags can be, she said, he screamed, she sang, he replied, they answered, she whispered, Jack yelled, Loretta screamed. All those are speaker tags and so many more out there. They're not the actual words coming out of the character's mouth. They're telling us or tagging for us who is saying them. They stay outside of the quotation marks. For example, there was blood everywhere, Karen explained. Rough day. All right. If a dialogue tag comes before the dialogue, we're going to separate it also. It's not going to go in the quotation marks, but we're going to just move the comma to after the dialogue tag. Karen explained, comma, there was blood everywhere. And now the period for that whole sentence is going to go inside the quotation marks. Think of the actual spoken word in the quotation marks plus the speaker tag, if there is one, as one sentence. This is where things get a little tricky. If there is dialogue, and it is a question or dialogue that would have an exclamation point, that goes inside the quotation marks. And with the speaker tag, it's still one big sentence though. So the speaker tag, unless it has a proper noun like Myra, Eliza, Bob, if it's just he, she, they, that's going to be lowercase because it's part of this greater sentence. So for example, there was blood everywhere, exclamation point, she exclaimed. The part she said, or exclaimed, was, there was blood everywhere. That goes in quotation marks with the exclamation point. But the speaker tag is still part of that sentence, so we don't capitalize the word she. She exclaimed, period. Does that make sense? I think that's where it starts to get a little not so intuitive. The same with a question mark. Myra whispered, comma, where did the blood come from? And the question mark goes in those quotation marks. You don't need punctuation, nor should you put it outside of the quotation marks. All right. If there is an action that is performed by the same character that's speaking around the same time, they can go together. They are separate sentences, though. For example, the example here is Daniel gasped, you're dying. So in reality of the fiction world, it would be like, oh, you're dying? So they can stay together. Daniel is doing both of those. One he is speaking and one he is doing. They are two separate sentences, though. Okay, last thing, and I actually really like this part of it. If you're having a conversation between two or more people in your book, and I hope you do because that reveals so much about characters and moves the plot along beautifully, you don't always have to have a speaker tag for the reader to know who's speaking, especially if there's only two people. Because every time a new speaker speaks, they get a new paragraph. It's indented. So instead of having to put like, Eliza said, what are you doing here? Bob replied, I don't know. Eliza screamed. Bob whispered, Eliza yelled again, "Get out!" Bob started sobbing. You don't need that Eliza Bob, Eliza Bob, Eliza Bob. Because every time someone else moves or does an action or speaks, we're going to give them a new paragraph. So let's take a look at this example. I was already drained by school and thankful my mother wasn't home to add fuel to this discussion. What are you doing here? I asked Graham, changing the subject. All right, that last bit is all one sentence. What are you doing here? I asked Graham, comma, changing the subject. All one sentence. We've got dialogue, we've got a speaker tag, and then we've got a little something extra in there, changing the subject. New speaker, new paragraph. I came to see your father, but he's not here. No one was home. New speaker, new paragraph. So you decided to have a drink? I've been waiting for you. That's sweet. I know, she said, squeezing another lime slice into the glass. Now who are you going to Mass with? Now here, we're going to have an action, but we're going to keep it right in her paragraph because it's the same person performing the action that's speaking the dialogue. She walked over until she was so close to me, her head was beneath mine. She looked up and said, "A girl. Who is she?" I hope this all helps. Dialogue to me is not very intuitive. It's just something you have to learn, and then once you know it, you'll know it. And it's going to save you so much time. Believe me, your editor is going to thank me. All right, good luck.